Hey guys, so today I wanted to make a video with a whiteboard and like an analogy and graphs and everything, and I actually did it already. It took me quite some time and my phone decided to just screw up the complete recording process. So instead I'm just going to talk about it, and the video title says you all that you need to know. Basically I want to talk about if it is advisable to only treat ADHD with lifestyle planning, therapy, having a diary, making a calendar, and stuff like that. So to preface this, I don't mean to say that these things that we are going to talk about are useless, not at all, and that they don't help ADHD. Actually, if you do have ADHD, or even if you don't have it, you definitely should apply most of the techniques that we are going to talk about. But do not think that it will be the end-all solution to your ADHD if you have it. So I wanted to clear two important short points before I get to the main one. The first point is that even though you plan everything out, you organize, you do treatment to make you like better handle your racing thoughts and stuff like that, there will still be symptoms of ADHD that you cannot remove like that. Yes, therapy can help you with the racing thoughts to some small degree, but it's still going to prevail. And even when you plan to read for an hour, if you have to read the same paragraph 3 times because after a minute you just don't remember what you read, even though you were trying to focus, then you are going to be at a disadvantage. And that's not just that. Of course, we know that ADHD comes with multiple other symptoms, like forgetting stuff, forgetting someone's name like 5 seconds after they introduce themselves. You get distracted from work, you feel low motivation, and I'm not even talking about the comorbid stuff like depression and anxiety, which is a logical result, but we'll get to that later. Hopefully, even if you don't have them, planning is not going to fix everything anyway. The second point is that, for example, now when I'm on Stratera and I've been dealing with this stuff for about 3 years now. Yeah, sure, I have now started to have a notebook. I am now making a calendar that actually kind of works. I'm actually putting stuff in there every day and I'm actually doing it. But it's really difficult, and I'm not sure if it would even be possible if I didn't have Stratera. And 3 years of practice in just trying to get through this obstacle. Like 3 years ago I didn't even know that I had ADHD, so I just tried to brute force myself into like keeping a diary. And that's the main problem with ADHD. You can't just make a habit of being organized if your issue is that you cannot be organized because it just doesn't light up properly. First of all, you are going to forget to even take your notebook with you, and I'm using a notebook as a general example, okay? So you have a notebook to plan your week, your day, whatever. You forget to take it. What happens? Well, you forget to take it once, so you are missing some details, but you forget to fill it out when you can come back, and even if you don't forget, you really don't feel like doing that because that's just it rubs you the wrong way. And then maybe you let's assume you've been hyped up by some like seriously great motivational video, and like journaling and notebook and just keeping notes and making calendar seems like the best thing in the world. Guess what? You will still forget. If you have ADHD, it happened to me definitely, you will still forget to make the entries themselves. Like when something happens, you still need to remember to always put it in the diary. Even if you have it in your bag, you will always, well, not always, but you will often forget. And even if you forget just 30% of the time, that notebook is useless because your flawed memory already works probably better than something that is missing 30% of the stuff that you need to remember. That defeats the whole purpose. But so to the main point, and that I think is the most important. We live in a competitive world. I don't think that is a bad thing. I actually think that's a good thing. But it is competitive. And in any competitive area of life, you need to start on the same line as everyone else if you want to have a fair chance. If someone starts 150 yards or meters in front of you and you are starting at point 0, what will happen if you try to catch up to them using exactly the same running technique at the same speed? Well, nothing. You will still be 150 meters apart. And that's the problem with all these things, because as I said in the beginning, these are great. Like planning, organization, making a vision, making a plan, goals for your life, just learning this stuff, that's great. That's going to lift you from like having no clear direction in your life to possibly greatness. But it's available to everyone, and everyone should do it. Sure, maybe someone without ADHD will be so unmotivated just because they are possibly lazy, or will just have different kinds of hobbies and different, like, I want to say directions, but if you don't have a direction, then just, they would be content with being aimless. And you don't, even when you have ADHD, you try and do all these things. Sure, you may get ahead, but at what cost? Like, it's going to cost you much more work than a neurotypical person would take. And the problem is that this analogy of 150 yards, like, in advance, that's not even the full picture. What really happens is that it seems that you are on the same starting line, but you like have a limp. Or if you're in a car, you're starting at the same position, the cars look the same. Maybe you have a better car, you have a sports car, and the other person has a, I don't know, just some regular old car. And you start and you lose. And everyone says, what the hell? Like, you have a better car. What's your problem? Everyone could win with this car. You have such a great car and you are wasting it. Like, get it together, man. Can't you drive? But they don't know. And you don't know that the car has a faulty engine. It's great. It's a great engine. But, like, let's say it has, like, problems injecting fuel. It's burning it inefficiently. And that causes you to lag behind, even if the other car is actually worse and has a worse engine overall. Sure, maybe you can become such a great driver that even with this disadvantage you will still win the race. But wouldn't it be easier to just figure out the problem and just fix the problem with the ignition and use your engine to its fullest potential, especially in a competitive world? Like, our world is almost endless. For a single person, it's impossible to learn everything. So we are basically in a situation where you can just move on and there is no finish line. So even if you can get by and you can compete with others, you could be so much further ahead. It's not like there is a limit that you reach and now we're done, that's okay. You don't know what you can become. Don't hinder yourself for no reason. Like, we have a limited time on this earth, and like this self-development stuff that we talked about, like organization and learning, that's great. I think that we all should at least take a moment to think about how we can incorporate this stuff into our lives. But this still applies to everything. We have a limited time and we have some potential, and if we want to achieve it, why should we shoot ourselves in the leg? Let's do all we can If you have a problem, fix the problem and then do all of the other stuff. Don't use the other stuff to compensate for the problem. Because then you can't use the other stuff anymore. You have already used it to compensate. That's basically my point, even without the whiteboard. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer, and I'll see you next time.